Please be seated. Let us pray. Gracious and welcoming God, we thank you for bringing us here today to celebrate the promise of another year of living and learning at Maryville College. Guide us all, students, faculty, staff, family, teammates, and friends, in the ways of scholarship, respect, and integrity. Creator God, who formed the world and saw that it was good, thank you for this place where Chilhowie's lofty mountains pierce the southern blue. Make us careful and caring stewards of this beautiful campus that you have so generously lent to us. God of infinite wisdom and understanding, thank you for giving us minds to learn and energy to work hard to accomplish our best. Bless those who teach and those who learn, and make us ever mindful of the responsibility that comes with the privilege of our education. God of radical hospitality, whose Spirit invites us to build up your beloved community, thank you for the rich individuality of every person gathered here today. Open our hearts to not only tolerate, but to genuinely celebrate and embrace our wonderful diversity, especially those who look, live, worship, and love differently than we do. Loving God, wrap us in your comforting embrace as we mourn the loss of our friend, Brittany Johnson. Never let us forget that life is short and we do not have much time to gladden the hearts of those who travel the way with us. Make us swift to love and hasten us to be kind. Be with us throughout the 2017-2018 year at Maryville College, and prepare us to go into the world to do good on the largest possible scale. We ask this with humility and with hope. Amen.
Good morning. On behalf of the faculty, I'm honored to welcome each of you to the start of this academic year. We welcome back staff, administrators, a special welcome to our board of directors, and a very warm welcome to returning students, and most especially to our new students and to new faculty and staff. It's exciting to start a new year at Maryville College, even as our hearts are heavy. I think there's an argument to be made, certainly arguable, that every one of us is advantaged to some degree just by being here. Our presence here today means that somehow we have been afforded an opportunity to go to school, to go to work, to learn, and not everyone is so fortunate. I know that for every single person in this room, regardless of circumstance, there are millions of people in the world who would trade places with any of us in a heartbeat. So students especially, what are you going to do with this opportunity? The options seem endless. How do you go about choosing what you want to do here? I don't have any ideas or advice about any of that. But here's what I do know. I don't regret anything I've ever tried and failed at, ever. I'm naturally a fairly cautious person, so what I do regret are the opportunities I let pass me by for fear of failure. Be mindful of the opportunities that come your way. Before dismissing an opportunity out of hand, take a moment to examine if an irrational fear might be in the driver's seat. Sometimes a perfectly rational fear is there, and you would be wise to listen and heed that. But I would venture to guess that most of the time, what we fear is largely unwarranted. Are you afraid? What are you afraid of? If the answer is failure, good. It means you're recognizing an opportunity. So be afraid and do it anyway. One of the best opportunities about college is that you'll get to meet and interact with a lot of different kinds of people. You don't have to do study abroad to meet people who are different from you, although study abroad is an excellent way to do just that. You'll have classmates here from all sorts of places in the world. Take advantage of this. Listen and learn how other people live and experience life. Learn and practice disagreeing civilly with your peers and, when necessary, with faculty and staff. The emphasis is on the civility. Our global community gets smaller every day. The sooner we all learn how to get along with each other, the better it will be for all of us in this tiny, amazing, fierce, fragile planet we share. So take responsibility for this amazing privilege that you've been granted, getting a college degree. Know that you have within you what it takes to do this work, and not just the academic work, although there will be plenty of that, but also the work of growing and grooming your whole self, figuring out who you are, asking the deep questions about our existence, exploring and strengthening your awareness of your spiritual connection with the universe, discerning how you want to do the work the world needs you to do. And while these tasks may seem daunting and a little bit frightening, know that you have support systems around you and that you need to use them. If you're fortunate to have a strong network of support at home, use it when you need it. But know that we have a strong network of support for you here too. Part of the benefits of choosing a place like Maryville, a small liberal arts college, is that you have faculty and staff who are dedicated and committed to your whole self education. We want to help you succeed, so come and talk to us. For those of you beginning your last year here with us and are about to graduate, know that we are deeply proud of you. We know that you have it within you to finish this last lap of the race. Some of you will finish strong, running faster in this last lap than in any of your previous laps. Some of you will do your absolute best and finish in the middle of the pack. Some of you will feel like this last lap will do you in, but you will keep going and you will finish. And all of these are beautiful outcomes, and we will celebrate them all. Whether this is your first year here or your last, these months will pass quickly. Enjoy them. Work hard, play hard, reflect, get to know new people, be passionate, be afraid, be courageous, be kind, be resilient. Use your support systems when you need them. Make this your best year yet. Welcome.
It is my great privilege to introduce those who are representing our Maryville College Board of Directors at Convocation this morning. Please stand and be recognized as I call your name. I begin with the Chair of the Board, Mary Kay Sullivan, Eric Barton. Stay standing. It's the one time I get to tell her to do something. Ken Bell, Hewlett Cheney, Bill Johnson, Adrielle McCord, Ann Rigel, Ken Tuck, Deb Wilson, and Charles Wright. Thank you for your leadership and for your service to this college.
Maryville College is a liberal arts, church-related college. It strives to be an instrument of liberation and growth for adults of all ages. Through its curriculum, the college affirms the continuing value of a broad range of study in the humanities, the sciences, and the arts. Avoiding narrow specialization, the college aims to enhance career opportunities and develop a true sense of vocation. To prepare students for a world of uncertainty and accelerating change, the college seeks to stimulate purposeful inquiry, to encourage analytical thinking and effective expression, to foster discriminating aesthetic taste and sound judgment, to provide opportunity for developing personal values, and to nurture the deep concern for persons that leads to constructive action. Founded by leaders of the Presbyterian Reformed tradition, Maryville College is related to the Presbyterian Church USA in a voluntary covenant. In an atmosphere of freedom and sensitivity, Maryville College bears witness to God's revelation in Jesus Christ, who challenges all human beings to search for truth, to work for justice, to develop wisdom, and to become loving persons. Continuing in this vital faith, the college believes that it must listen attentively and humbly to all human voices so that it may hear the call of God no matter how God may speak. Maryville College is, in essence, a community for learning. This community includes persons with a variety of interests, backgrounds, beliefs, and nationalities. The faculty, as a group of scholars committed to the preservation and advancement of knowledge, emphasizes effective teaching and encourages supportive relationships with students. The students are challenged to grow in academic competence, personal and social maturity, and spiritual discernment and commitment. In such an atmosphere of openness and caring, lasting friendships are formed. through caring for others on campus and beyond, sharing genuine concern for the world, and working to fulfill the college's purpose, directors, administration, staff, faculty, and students strive to build and strengthen the human community.
Our scripture reading from today is Luke 14:25 through 33. Now large crowds were traveling with him, and he turned and said to them, "Whoever comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, and even life itself, cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not carry the cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. For which of you, intending to build a tower, does not first sit down and estimate the cost, to see whether he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid a foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it will begin to ridicule him, saying, 'This fellow began to build and was not able to finish.' Or what king, going out to wage war against another king, will not sit down first and consider whether he is able with 10,000 to oppose the one who comes with him with 20,000? If he cannot, then, while the other is still far away, he sends a delegation and asks for terms of peace. So therefore, none of you can become my disciple if you do not give up all of your possessions." This is the word of the Lord.
I have some prepared remarks, but before I give that, I wanted to say Convocation in the beginning of the school year, we really want to celebrate and be joyful and optimistic, and there is that. But there's also the fact that as the class of 2018 walked in this morning, we're missing our friend and our student, Brittany Johnson. And we celebrate here in Maryville College that we're a small place and we get to know each other. We know each other well and we are known well. And that is indeed something to celebrate, and it helps our celebrations be that much sweeter. But in turn, it makes it hurt that much more. Whether we knew Brittany or not, we know people who did, and we all mourn together. And the comforting part of living in community as we do is that is the only way that we can mourn is together. And so we will do that today. We will do that throughout the year and in times to come. To say, Convocation is a celebration at the beginning of the academic year. But more than that, it is an opportunity to reflect that every moment is both a beginning of what comes next and an outcome of what came before. We are at an auspicious time at Maryville College, with the impending bicentennial celebration providing a natural focal point for reflecting on both what has come before and what comes next. In order to be intentional about what comes next, we have begun a strategic planning process led by a team of faculty members, staff, and board members chaired by Dr. Dan Klingensmith. At the May board meeting, our chair, Dr. Mary Kay Sullivan, framed the opening discussion using 3 questions, which have been adopted as a framework by several other groups in conversations throughout the summer. What do we do well that our competitors do not do well? What must never change? What must change? Simple questions, but questions that evoke complicated and sometimes contradictory responses. After all, what is identified as a strength that must never change for one person might be an opportunity for change for another person. And even if we agree on the direction of change, there is the question of how to get to the new point, given that we are starting from a particular place with a particular history. Or as Paul Anderson wrote, I've yet to see any problem, however complicated, which when you looked at it the right way, didn't become still more complicated. The liberal arts education championed at Maryville College encourages our community to find these complications and equips people to make sense of them. The point is not just to create chaos, but to identify a rich unity underneath. This past summer, I had the pleasure of traveling to Rome and visited St. Paul's Basilica. Over the apse is a mosaic installed about 800 years ago. If you look closely, you see each individual tile. And to be honest, they don't make a lot of sense in isolation. But together they form a holy unity that has inspired people for centuries. A different metaphor is provided by the author Stanislav Lem. Much as a hand emerging from the water finger first appears above the surface in the form of 5 seemingly separate and independent items that appear to be plural, though in point of fact they are quite singular. Strategic planning must look for the hand, not just the fingers. Our statement of purpose reminds me that we are in a world of uncertainty and accelerating change, which means that complete planning is impossible. Thus, we must build flexibility and resilience into plans, and we as individuals must be flexible and resilient as events unfold. The passage from Luke reminds us of the folly of failing to plan. But there is also a folly in believing too much in any plan, especially in the specific details. Adam Smith describes, negatively, the man of system who is apt to be very wise in his own conceit and is so enamored with the supposed beauty of his own ideal plan that he cannot suffer the smallest deviation from any part of it. He goes on to establish it completely and in all parts, and he seems to imagine that he can arrange the different members of society with as much ease as a hand arranges the pieces on a chessboard, not considering that the pieces upon the chessboard have no other principle of motion beyond that which the hand gives them. But in the great chessboard of human society, every single piece has a principle of motion of its own. We here at Maryville College are not only aware that every single person has an independent mind and direction, we are regularly reminded, again in the words of our statement of purpose, that we must listen attentively and humbly to all human voices so that we may hear the voice of God, hear the call of God, no matter how God may speak. We are especially concerned with educating people who will shape the future and who will be able to thrive no matter what future unfolds. Ironically, successful education contains the seeds of its own undoing. As new facts are uncovered, new theories are developed, and new techniques are invented. Therefore, we must never rest easy, but must always look to improve. Not because of any fault in what we are doing today, but because even the best approach today might no longer be the best tomorrow. A famous observer of America, Henry Adams, wrote that about education, the attempt of the American of 1800 to educate the American of 1900 had not often been surpassed for folly. Since 1800, the forces and their complications had increased 1,000 times or more. And he went on that the attempt of the American of 1900 to educate the American of 2000 must be even blinder, unless we've learned our ignorance. Our planning for educating the American of 2100 must be undertaken boldly, but also with humility. A plan is not just a stereotype or archetype, but it reflects the individual character of the institution and the time period. A passage from Invisible Cities, which is a book of dialogues, novel by Italo Calvino. Kubla Khan and Marco Polo discuss the difference between ideal plans and individual outcomes. So Kubla Khan says, I have an idea. I'll describe cities to you, and you can go out when you travel and see whether they exist. But the cities that Marco Polo visited were never the ones that the emperor described. And Kubla Khan was surprised and said, but I have constructed in my mind a model city. And from that, every other city can be deduced. My model city contains everything that's normal. I only need to think about exceptions to the norm and calculate the most probable combinations. And Marco Polo said, I also have a model city from which I can deduce all of the other cities. My model city is made up only of exceptions, exclusions, incongruities, and contradictions. If such a city is the most improbable, by reducing the number of abnormal elements, we increase the probability that the city really exists. And so, all we have to do is subtract some exceptions, and no matter which way we go, we arrive at a city that exists. But I can't do this beyond a certain limit, because I would achieve cities too probable to be real. Maryville College is certainly real, and we have both our share of normal and incongruities. We therefore learn both from observing national trends and the specific actions of similar schools, and also from carefully identifying ways that we are different, that are important and worth preserving. While the current strategic planning effort is new, Maryville College has been busy during the past few years with plans that illustrate this point. Plans for facilities improvements for both science and athletics and student wellness have been prepared. And you'll see activity as funds are raised in sufficient amounts. We've already seen some activity in improving facility availability in advance of full implementation. For example, this summer, we were able to move the student fitness room from the second floor of Bartlett to larger space on the first floor of Bartlett and purchase new equipment and install it. In addition, the rapidly growing exercise science program now has additional office space for new faculty, along with a lab with equipment specific to that major on the second floor of Fairweather Hall. A vision with no budget is just a dream. A plan is a vision plus a way to pay for it. Fortunately, at Maryville College, we have been blessed throughout our history with generous people who have helped transform vision into plan. Many of you will recall in May that I was able to announce the largest gift in the history of Maryville College. But some of you weren't here, and I enjoy the opportunity during Convocation to celebrate some of the outstanding individuals who have made our progress possible. So I'm going to take a moment to tell you about the McGills, who gave that unprecedented gift. Dr. Dan McGill and his wife Elaine were longtime supporters and advocates of Maryville College, and it was a real pleasure to get to know both of them. Dan graduated magna cum laude from Maryville College in 1940 with a bachelor's degree in economics. He served in the Army during World War I and then earned his master's degree from Vanderbilt and a PhD from the University of Pennsylvania. His research focused on life insurance, and in fact, he started his research on risk and insurance as an undergraduate here. Basically, it grew out of his senior thesis. His senior study, and at the time that was optional, focused on state programs for insuring bank deposits that were precursors to the federal deposit program created by FDR. Dan started his career at UT Knoxville and then was at University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. He was called back to active duty during the Korean War, and then after that war, he entered into long service at the University of Pennsylvania, where he was named the Frederick Eckert Professor of Life Insurance in 1956. This Maryville College graduate chaired the insurance department for the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania for over 24 years. He served as a consultant to the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve for almost 20 years. And he also served on multiple corporate and organizational boards. He was also a prolific researcher who authored 7 books. Our alumnus was respected and admired by all who knew him. He chaired Maryville College Board of Directors, and the college honored him with both an honorary degree in 1982 and the Maryville College Medallion in 1994. Dan was born just down the road from here in Greenback, Tennessee. He had 8 siblings who reached maturity, so he was one of 9 children. He played the piano, and he also loved to play basketball. And his family would always talk about his late night studying, playing pickup basketball, and then walking to and from his aunt's house here in Maryville. That's where he stayed while he attended at the college. Elaine was married to Dan for 60 years, and she was incredibly supportive throughout that time and just a great partner. They were active members of Bryn Mawr Presbyterian Church in Philadelphia and remain members here locally in Clover Hill Presbyterian Church. Dan and Elaine originally established the endowment that they gave to in memory of their daughter, Melanie Mays McGill. But Elaine requested that the scholarship also memorialize her husband's commitment and service to Maryville College as well. And so, as part of the bicentennial celebration in 2019, thanks to this generous gift by this incredible couple, we will be able to award the first Dan Mays McGill and Melanie Mays McGill Memorial Scholarships. The point of the parable from Luke is not to avoid action because of costs. It's not to avoid action but because of cost, but rather to act after calculating the cost. As an example of action, a couple members of the class of 2018 Josh Anderson and Molly Ridgway led the way to expanding the teaching of American Sign Language, ASL, in Tennessee schools, including lobbying for and successfully getting legislation passed that implements ASL textbooks and allows ASL to satisfy foreign language requirements. That not only shows initiative and leadership, but illustrates that we believe in investing in every person. In fact, our current strategic plan, Renewing Our Strength, can be thought of as organizing around investing. We've invested in programs, including new majors, a new core curriculum, and this year fully implemented Maryville College Works. We've invested in facilities, including complete renovations of Anderson Hall and Pearsons Hall, a new baseball practice facility, a completely renovated softball field, and major work on Carnegie Hall, Bartlett Hall, Thaw Hall, and the steam lines. And we've invested in people, recruiting the best possible faculty and staff, benchmarking compensation, and we're not there yet, but we have started to take steps to close the gap between the current compensation and where the compensation needs to be. To accomplish our goals, whether as individuals or as an institution, we must be prepared to sacrifice. That can mean staying on campus to complete an assignment rather than going out with friends. Or it might mean risking misunderstanding from others as we advocate for our beliefs. We are called to act once we've understood the cost. We regularly celebrate Isaac Anderson, but we sometimes forget that he was not only an educator and a pastor, but also an active leader in this region, in the movement to abolish slavery. And while East Tennessee was certainly Union country, the Maryville College stand for coeducation and racial integration was not unanimously approved. One history of the college quotes a newspaper opinion piece from 1872 describing Maryville College in the following way: it's a mixed school, mixed through and mixed all over. The faculty is mixed, carpetbaggers and scalawags. And the classes are awfully mixed. Mixed boys and mixed girls, mixed sizes, mixed colors, mixed sexes. That sounds a little odd today. The rights that today are taken for granted are often only obtained after brave struggle in the face of insults and opposition. The challenge to us today is to live up to the example of our predecessors and carry the cross. Deciding to act is not the same thing as acting. No matter how much we prepare, we must eventually put that preparation into practice. As the passage from Luke illustrates, we're expected to join in the work, not just wait idly for divine intervention. Fortunately, we have a lot of people here, everyone I know, who embraces this necessity. There's an anecdote about a paratrooper who was asked, "Do you like to jump out of airplanes?" The person answered, "No." And then, so the follow-up question, of course, is, well, why then have you chosen a career in which you have to jump out of airplanes? And the answer was, I like to be surrounded by people who jump out of airplanes. Here at Maryville College, there are a lot of people who do not wait for something good to happen, but take that leap of faith to engage with what is possible. We must count the cost, but we must also act. No matter how much we plan, we will make mistakes. That too is an opportunity for learning and to strengthen both individuals and the community. Practice doesn't make perfect. It just gives us a lot of ways to recover from mistakes. In fact, acting can sometimes mean disregarding or at least not being overwhelmed by research and planning. According to Shakespeare, before the Battle of Agincourt, Henry V prayed the following prayer: worried about the reaction of his soldiers to the size of the French army. O God of battles, steel my soldiers' hearts, possess them not with fear, take from them now the sense of reckoning. Ere the opposed numbers pluck their hearts from them. So don't be afraid of freshman seminar, or declaring a major, or significant practical experience, and especially not comps and thesis. After you have triumphed, yes, take a look back and realize the magnitude of the obstacle you have overcome. And use that knowledge to invigorate you, to dedicate a life of creativity and service to the peoples of the world. Here's what the student handbook had to say in 1929. College is not a 4 years loaf, and the student who makes it that is a failure. Remember that you were in college primarily to work and to accomplish things thereby. To take one's studies seriously is not synonymous with accepting uncritically all that is spoken in lectures or written in textbooks. You should learn from the start to react what is told to you. If your doubts arise, voice them modestly yet boldly until matters are cleared up through discussion. That was good advice when it was written during the last year of President Wilson's term, and it's good advice today. So let us together be modest yet bold in our discussions, so that thereby we may work together to accomplish the mission of Maryville College. May God bless us all throughout this academic year.
Let us pray. Gracious, loving, and holy God, as this new year stretches before us, we, with Luke, wonder if we have what it takes to accomplish all the work that is coming our way. You have asked your followers to give everything they had, to plan, estimate, invest, and work, so that your vision of peace and welcome would not be half finished at the end of the day. It all seems daunting, Holy One, and yet we stand ready to do our part. We give thanks for those who have fully invested in this place, for teachers and staff, coaches, students, and graduates who have seen the needs here and who show up each day eager and full of gifts. We are grateful for students who have given so much to be here. Not only their tuition dollars, but their energy, their questions, these precious years of life which we share with one another. We are thankful for scholars whose work challenges us, for leaders whose words guide us, for the community that holds us in hard times. And so we would pray for the college this year and for our world. Where there is destruction of community, where there is disregard for the future of creation, where there is failure to honor each person, give us the courage and stamina to build, to plant, to be faithful for our day and for the days to come. In a world of hate and exclusion, help us, Holy One, to stand for welcome, generosity, and justice. Keep us from discouragement, bitterness, cynicism, and exhaustion. Give us all we need to finish the tasks that lie before us, so that in large and small ways the world may be a better place because of us, and that we may each day dedicate ourselves to live with creativity and service and even joy to the peoples of the world. Amen.
Please rise for the declaration of the academic year. The declaration of the academic year is the formal announcement that the new academic year has begun. When this occurs, the bell in the tower of Anderson Hall will toll. This bell marks important events in the life of the college, but it also has its own history. It has a story that new students and others should be aware of because it helps us understand who we are and intend to be at this college. Maryville College was the first college in Tennessee to admit African Americans and had black students until 1902, when the state law prohibited integrated education. In 1954, when the U.S. Supreme Court struck down segregated education, students of color were once again admitted to the college. In the 1930s, the bell at Maryville College developed a crack and needed to be replaced. The bell that was then installed in the Anderson Bell Tower was from a local institution named Hastings College, also called the Freedmen's Normal Institute. This was a black college founded after the Civil War to educate freed slaves. That college later closed and its bell was put in storage until the 1930s, when it was put to use at Maryville College. The newly installed bell rang out throughout the rest of the segregation era in solidarity with individuals prohibited from enrolling in our college. The Hastings College bell, now the Maryville College bell, has been ringing in the new academic year ever since. Let us recall, when the bell tolls to begin this academic year, that it is also a bell that proclaims justice and freedom. And now, remembering our continuing mission to grow in wisdom and search for truth, it is my privilege to announce that the 2017-2018 academic year at Maryville College has begun.
I'm going to say a few words, and then they are going to sing us the choral benediction. And after that, will you sit down for the recessional? So now, let us go into this new year, working for our own future and for that of the earth, pressing toward the goal of justice, honoring each person who walks with and behind and before us, being gentle with one another and speaking the truth in love. And may all of us be shaped into those who are strong and ready for the work that is ahead. May you be seekers of truth and teachers of wisdom. And may the God who brought you to this new beginning lead you on into each new day. Amen.